Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Now, I'm sure you've heard of ChatGPT by now, but if you haven't, it's a language model developed by OpenAI. And so essentially it's like a chatbot with some cool AI applications, and I think it's pretty crazy. So I've only just started using it, so I actually don't know the full capabilities of it, but you all know that on this channel we make mobile apps with Flutter. So let's play around with it and let's check this out. Now, the first thing I'm going to ask, let's just say something simple. Let's say I want to code apps using Flutter. How do I get started? Cool, and then it will just start telling me how to do it. And I like that it gives you some steps. Now, a lot of this stuff, obviously, you can just Google, but there's something cool about this being a chatbot and it kind of giving you just the instructions on what to do. And so yeah, it looks like it's giving me, how to download it from the website and all that. So yeah, this stuff is it's cool that it does it, but so far it's not really blowing my mind. But pretty cool. Now, let's do something a little bit different. So let's say like we started using Flutter and we're learning some different widgets, and I want to learn, say, I remember when I was first learning, a lot of the widgets were pretty simple until maybe like a list view. So let's say, how do you use a list view in Flutter? Cool, list view is a widget that displays a scrolling list of widgets, and it gives us some example code. And this, pretty crazy, that the fact that it's just writing us Flutter code. This is really cool. I actually asked about list views before I made this video, and every time you ask it, it does give it to you slightly differently, which is interesting. But it gave you this example code using a list view builder and how to use that. And it also tells you some explanation of it. Now, it also gives you additional information here, right? Like it says you can also use just a list view with a fixed number of children using the list view constructor. And so one of the cool things about this is that it just explains how to use these basic widgets. Now, let's turn it up one notch and say, can you code for me a simple login UI using Flutter? Let's see what this does. Certainly, here is a simple login UI in Flutter. Yeah, boy, make me some code. And what I'll do is I'll open up a new Flutter project, and I'm going to copy and paste this code, and I want to show you what it looks like and see if it actually works. Now, one thing I was thinking about this is I would guess you would still need to know some basics of Flutter and the code to really look at this and go, okay, this is some good code or not, right? So I think it kind of reminds me when I was teaching like younger kids about certain math concepts, and the fact that you can use a calculator, or in the exam you get a formula sheet and they're like, oh, what do I need to study? I can just use a formula sheet. But you still would need to know how to read this code, right? But just kind of on the surface level, I think it's giving me some good code. Like it's using a column with a text form field and the password field as well. So let's just let it keep going. This is sick, man. Raised button. I don't know if raised button is deprecated or not. Actually, I'm not sure. We'll see. We will copy and paste this code into our project when this is done. This code creates a simple login screen with 2 text fields for the email and password and a button to log in. When the button is pressed, the form is validated, and if the form is valid, the email and password are printed into the console. Alright, sweet. So let's see. I'm going to copy this, right? Oh, whoa, it's got a button here, copy code. Let's go. And I've already opened up a sample app. So I'm going to just delete this and let's just copy this in. I just realized something. There was a Flutter update. I think it was like a few years ago now, and they have null safety. So looks like the ChatGPT doesn't know about null safety yet. So it wants me to do all this stuff. Let's just do a quick fix. Yeah, so it looks like the code is a little bit outdated. I mean, one thing I do know about ChatGPT is the one that we are accessing right now knows information up until like 2021 or something like that, like 2020. So it doesn't have the most current information. So that's a shame. And same thing for this raise button, I thought was not there. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. You would still need a little bit of knowledge, of Flutter. Right, like we'd have to do all this null safety. Raise button, let's change this to a material button. Okay, sweet. And I'm gonna restart this. And that's pretty cool. It made for me a simple login screen. So that's really cool. Now I'm gonna go back. Let's try something else. Let's say like, I'm actually gonna just ask a follow-up question. Is this fully functional? Yes, this code should be fully functional as a login screen. However, this code does not include any actual authentication or handling of the login process. It simply serves as a basic example of how to create a login screen. So yeah, we're gonna need to, if you want to actually use this UI to, use some authentication, then that's what it's saying here. So let's say like, what server, or let's say like, what authentication do you recommend me to use with this? There are many different ways you can authenticate users in a Flutter app. The best method for you will depend on your specific requirements, blah blah blah. So we got some options here: server-based authentication, and it just explains it. Now I can just imagine just working with this, just needing some help and just using ChatGPT to sort of explain all of this stuff. And I think, out of all of the possible applications for ChatGPT, one of the best things that I can imagine is kind of like how we Google results, or like we Google certain problems. As a software engineer, it's always known that like Googling is a big skill, right? You have to be able to know what to search and how to fix your problem in that way. But I think in the future, instead of Google searching, we would just ask ChatGPT. But yeah, it tells us some options to do. And the fact that it has memory, kind of like Siri or like Google Assistant. I think one of the good things about Google Assistant over Siri is it's got memory within the chat. So it could be like, how tall is Barack Obama? And then it will tell me the height. And then I could be like, where was he born? And it will understand what I mean by he. You know what I mean? Like it has like the memory. So ChatGPT for sure has that. Now, let's say I was actually using some authentication. One of my recent videos for authentication was the Google sign-in. So I'm actually want to ask, let's actually ask, how can I use Google authentication in this Flutter app? And let's see what it says. And I know how to do this because I recently made a tutorial on this. And yep, I did use that Google sign-in package. So first add the Google sign-in dependency. Man, maybe you guys don't need my tutorials anymore. You can just ask ChatGPT. Yep, use some Firebase. Bro, this is sick, man. Cool. And I like that it always gives you links to the actual documentation for you to actually check out in more detail if you need. Now let's actually ask something different. Let's say, can you code for me a simple calculator app And I'm not gonna say in Flutter, let's just see. You should know I'm gonna use Flutter. Yeah, there you go. Cool, and I asked this before, and sometimes it'll give me just the UI, and sometimes it'll actually include the functionality, and sometimes it would not finish the code. So let's see how this one goes. It's looking good so far. You got number 1, number 2, and you got the button pressed method. And it's really cool. Like every time I ask this, it does give it to me slightly differently every time. So it's not some like static, it's not always the same code that it gives us, which is cool because you can ask it to give it to you in a certain way. Like, make me a simple calculator app in the style of A or in the style of B. Or like maybe this one looks like it's using a bunch of else if statements and if statements, which is completely fine, but maybe you could ask for, to use a case like a switch statement or something like this. But yeah, let's see how this goes. And if ChatGPT gives me the full code here, let's paste it into our app and see if it works. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It kind of didn't really finish the scaffold. What's going on, ChatGPT? You didn't finish it. You didn't finish the code, bro. And I think like just from my limited use of using it, I feel like the more specific and the more you like prod it on, like the better it does. Because yeah, it looks like it's gonna just start from the beginning and go all the way through. So we'll just let this run and see if it finishes the scaffold. And I think there is an art to the person asking the question, right? Like maybe I could be like, can you just make the UI first? And then once I got the UI, maybe then I can ask for the functionality, something like this. But yeah, let's get this guy to keep going. I mean, these methods look pretty good. I mean, it's using a bunch of else if statements, and you can see the plus, minus, multiply, divide. And it's using a set state. Again, it didn't really finish the UI for it, which I don't know why. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. It's not really finishing the UI. Maybe it's like got a cap on how many lines of code it can give me. I'm not sure. If you have any idea, guys, just let me know in the comments below. But it's not really it's not really finishing the UI. So, okay, that's a wrap. I do want to ask one other question. I want to say something like a game. Can you code for me a simple snake game? So it's got a grid size 20. But it's just so cool. Like you just say, can you make a snake game? And it just knows implicitly that you need food, you need direction. Maybe because there is already a lot of code in the internet about how to make a snake game. And so I don't know if it's just getting that. But this is still pretty crazy. But yeah, why does it keep not finishing it? I don't know. I'll play more with this and see why it's not finishing it. But maybe there is a cap. Actually, we should just ask it. Do you have a limit on how much code you can write for me? Oh damn, you got no physical limitations. However, I have been designed to provide helpful and accurate answers. And in some cases, this may involve writing a lot of code in order to provide a complete solution. In general, it's a good idea to break larger programming tasks down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Right, so it wants me to do some more work for you. That's cool. Oh yeah, and on Twitter, I saw this guy posted something pretty cool. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should follow me there because I'll just talk a lot of random stuff about code. But I retweeted this Santiago dude. So 11 ways ChatGPT saves me hours of work every day and why you'll never outcompete those who use AI effectively. So he's got this like 16 lists of things. And if we just go through some of these, it's good at explaining code, right? I could like ask it, sometimes you'll see a block of code, whether that's on Stack Overflow or on some documentation. We could just copy and paste it into ChatGPT and then say, what is this function doing? And then it will just explain it for us. Improve existing code. Oh yeah, that's cool. Like just give it some code and then make some improvements. Simplifying code. Yeah, some of this stuff is really cool. And this is just my first impressions, because I only started using this really recently, so we'll see how actually capable ChatGPT is. But when I was first using it the other day, I was getting like goosebumps because I don't know, something about it seems pretty crazy. But yeah, what else should I do? Maybe just last thing for fun. Let's say a common question you always hear people ask on the internet. I want to make mobile apps. Should I use Flutter or React Native? Both Flutter and React Native are popular frameworks for building mobile apps, and they both have their own strengths and limitations. Flutter is an open source, blah 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 blah. React Native is an open source created by Facebook. It uses the JavaScript programming languages. Ultimately, which framework you choose will depend on your specific needs and preferences. If you are familiar with the Dart programming language and want a fully customizable, natively compiled app, then Flutter might be a good choice for you. If you are familiar with JavaScript and want a fast, declarative way to build cross-platform native apps, then React Native might be a better fit. It's a good idea to try out both frameworks and see which one you prefer. And it gives us the link to each framework. So interesting. Like I said, this is only my first couple times using ChatGPT. So in the next few days and weeks, I'm gonna put it to the test, and maybe I'll make some more videos like when you should use this and maybe when you shouldn't. But if you have any experience using ChatGPT and you got some opinions about this, let me know below. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. There's always this question of, can AIs like this replace software engineers or like replace certain other jobs? And I always think at the end of the day, once ChatGPT becomes like ChatGPT N, right? So right now we're on ChatGPT 3, but when it becomes like 4, 5, 6 and so on, like in the limit, I feel like at the end of the day, the only thing left for humans to really do is to be creative. The art of asking the question, right? Like the art of knowing what you want. So the initial inspiration. You've seen these days where you can have AIs that create art for you, and it can create like music for you as well, right? Like if I say, can you give me a song in the style of Beethoven and Kendrick Lamar or something, and then you can just get it to do that. But that initial inspiration, you still need that from a human, I guess. But yeah, I love talking about this stuff because it always makes me question the work that we do. And because of AI, I always like to shy away from doing tasks that are very repetitive, things that can easily be automated that AIs can do. And I always encourage people to do work that's creative, so yeah, something to keep in mind. And just for fun, let's try this. Can you write me a rap lyric about Steve Jobs trashing Bill Gates? Let's see what it does. I'm the apple of your eye, the cream of the crop, while Bill's just a PC, a low-end laptop. Ooh, I revolutionized the world with my sleek design, while Bill was left behind and has been in decline. I redefined the game, made technology cool, while Bill's just a name, a corporate fool. I changed the way we live, made life more convenient, while Bill's just a relic, a Stone Age resident. So don't try to compare me to that Microsoft guy. I'm Steve Jobs, the one and only, the reason why. Technology's on top and I'm leading the pack. Bill Gates can't touch me. I'm too far ahead of the pack. Damn, fucking bars, man. Anyway, that was fun to play around with. So like I said, this is just only my initial impressions. I'm going to play around with this a bit more in the future and see how I can use this to help me make Flutter apps. So let me know if you have any thoughts on this, but I'm already liking this ChatGPT and I think this is pretty damn cool. In my mind's going crazy of like different ideas of how I could use this to to code my apps and things like that. So let me know what you guys think about this. I'm going to leave the video there, and I'm just going to play around with this for a little bit longer. But like I said, follow me on Twitter. I'm just going to put my random thoughts out on there. And that's it for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.